So here is the fuel rail, this silver bar right here. Okay, we're starting to get it. There we go.
You can see they are very oily, very gummed up.
Oh, there we go.
We got it. And it does look correct. It looks like the right part number for this vehicle. Today we are changing out a fuel injector, specifically the fuel injector on cylinder number 4 with this GM 4.2 liter inline 6-cylinder engine. And when I say cylinder number 4, I mean the 4th one back from the front. That's the only one where I have noticed multiple times looking at the spark plugs that there is something different about that spark plug. Let me show you. Here I have all the ignition coils and spark plugs lined up from front to back. So we'll go to the 4th one here. You can see right there we have a slight grayish color, and none of the other plugs have this. Now in the past I have also taken the plugs out and noticed on this same cylinder that there was an even bigger growth of that same exact color. So something is going on in cylinder number 4, and I'm kind of suspecting it to be perhaps an injector. I am having rough idle, rough running situation, and I'm trying to figure that out. I've changed a lot of different sensors. I've changed all the ignition coils, all the spark plugs. I've changed basically every common thing on this engine to try to tackle this issue. I've had certain things that I thought helped it out. Like for example, a seafoam cleaning seemed to help it out a little bit. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. There's no codes. The only thing I've noticed is my fuel trims are a little bit wonky. I've checked for vacuum leaks and stuff like that. There are none that I can find. I'm taking off the computer that's mounted to the side of the intake manifold here. I've already disconnected the negative side of the battery, and I've removed a couple of plugs here and a vacuum line. It's a lot of work, but I gotta rule it out. You know, a lot of vehicles, you can see the fuel rail and the injectors and everything are very accessible right from the top. This one, unfortunately, is not. This giant airbox here with the throttle body attached to it is completely in every way covering up the fuel rail and all of the injectors. So unfortunately, this thing's gotta come out in order to even have access. And the other unfortunate thing is that you can't get access to some of these bolts without removing the alternator, which of course means other brackets have to come out. And once I remove this rear wiring, I should be able to pull this thing right out. All right, I was finally able to get the cord off of the back. All right, let's see if we can pull this thing out. One alternator removed. Well, the manifold is officially loose, finally. Probably took me over an hour just to get at each one of these bolts down here. The problem is now, I gotta remove this fuel line in order to have room to pull it out. So this clip here is the first thing I needed to remove. And now in order to separate it, I gotta use this tool. The tool simply slides over the line, pushes in to release the clips. Once it's over that line, and I should be able to just, pull this off. A little bit of fuel came out. You want to be careful with that. I'm wearing eye protection. If this isn't one of the hardest intake manifolds ever to remove, I don't know what is. I am having a lot of trouble getting this thing out. Yes, I have done it before, but that still doesn't make it easy. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yes. Oh. What a beast. Well, that was an absolute nightmare taking that thing out. The bolts were so hard to get to all the way as far back as you can imagine in the engine bay, right between the firewall. I don't even know how I did it. And like I said, I've done this twice now. So here is the fuel rail, this silver bar right here. This bar is where the fuel goes into, and it's directly fed by this line we detached. And looking closely at the top here, you can see the injectors are right there. And there's obviously 6 of them. Very easy to crack loose. And we probably want to do a little bit at a time. Okay, we're starting to get it. There we go. Towards the front there. There we go. All right. Holy smokes, guys. Well, here it is, the entire fuel rail out of the 2005 GMC Envoy. Unfortunately, this is extremely hard to get to due to that intake manifold, but with some time and a lot of effort, I got it. Now, looking at these injectors, right where they go into the head, you can see they are very oily, very gummed up. Looking closely at this first one, for example, you can see all of the grime that is on there. Looking at the face of it, right there where the fuel sprays out, it does look pretty clean. And that trend continues all the way down until we get to this fourth one. Look at the difference in this fourth injector. That tip there is nowhere near as gummed up. And then if we look at the face of it, you can see there's a lot more brown staining there than on any of the other ones. Here's the fifth one, for example, a lot of gunk all over it, and the face looks a lot cleaner. And same thing for this sixth one here, a lot of gunk, and yet that face looks a lot cleaner. Now I will admit, I really don't know what this means. I don't know if this means that this is evidence of a bad injector. You know, maybe the injector is clogged and not firing enough fuel or something, or maybe it's just pumping out way too much fuel. I just don't know. But what I do know is that that fourth injector and that fourth cylinder is an anomaly. There's something going on here. So I figured, why not change out the injector to rule it out? It's just so weird to me that all of the tips of these are super gunked up, except for the fourth one that we are suspecting. This one is a lot cleaner, but I really don't know what that means. Also with the brown staining there, I don't know what that means either. Regardless, this one injector is different than all of the rest. And so with the issues I'm having, I'm kind of happy that I'm seeing this. I'm happy that I'm seeing one injector different from all the rest. This is confirming to me that replacing the injector with a brand new one is worthwhile. All of that being said, I will say, I don't know if this is caused from the injector or if there's something else going on with cylinder number 4 that is making this injector look like this. I'm going with the easy route for now, which surprisingly is pulling all this stuff apart and replacing the injector. So let's open this up and see what it looks like. Now here's the part number FJ319, and interestingly, it is made in the USA. Now I will say I bought this from Rock Auto, as I do most of my auto parts. Unfortunately, this thing was opened. This plastic bag was opened when I got it. I inspected it already and everything seems to be brand new. I didn't smell any fuel or anything like someone installed it and then like returned it. So hopefully this is the correct injector, but looking at the end here, you can see this is a brand spanking new injector and it does look correct. It looks like the right part number for this vehicle. All right, now to take this off, we're gonna first figure out how to remove this green clip here. Okay, just pull up on the sides and it looks like you can just pull the clip up and then maybe pinch this. Let's see, the green clip is up. And then I think you can pinch that. Let's see here. I definitely do not want to break anything. Let's see if underneath I can see the clip. Okay, there we go. I just pried up underneath a little bit and I was able to pop that thing off. Now that's the electrical connector, but there still is a metal clip right here holding the actual injector physically into the fuel rail. I'm just gonna reach my flathead screwdriver in there and just slowly but surely figure out how this thing works. Let's get the other side. There we go. No problem. All right, metal clip is out. And as for the fuel injector, just twist it, wiggle it a little bit. It should pop out here. Let's see if we can get this thing out. Oh, there we go. That is a big O-ring right there. That's why that was so hard. We got it. Well, here they are side by side. You can see the old one, of course, the dirty one. They do look fairly identical, so that's good. I don't think there's gonna be an issue installing or anything like that. To install this injector, I'm just gonna rub a little motor oil on this O-ring. With this O-ring lubricated, I guess I'm just gonna try to push it in. I will give it, oh, well that was easy. Okay, and as for the clip, it's gonna be something like, okay, just something like that. Wow, that was really simple. All right, now obviously I can't reinstall these with all of this mud on there. So I'm gonna see how hard this is. Wow, this is gummy. I'm gonna see how hard it is to clean this stuff off without getting it on the tip of the injector. Stuff is very stringy. Okay, I got all the tips of the injectors pretty well cleaned up. There's still a little gunk around the faces, but I don't want to start rubbing stuff around on the tip there for fear of getting something clogged in those holes. I did spray some throttle body cleaner on the ends of each one of these to hopefully clean up any varnish that might be on the ends of those holes there. They're certainly not perfect, but I don't want to do too much and cause an even bigger issue by clogging those holes there. So this thing is put back together and ready to go. However, here on the engine side, we're not ready. Looking closely inside these ports where the injectors go, you can see there's a lot of trash I need to clean out before I reinstall. There's the second one back, and you can see again, it is pretty dirty. I just got done cleaning out the ports there on the engine side. I'm now gonna oil up these O-rings on all of these injectors, just to make sure that nothing gets bound up or hangs up as I try to reinstall this injector bar. I do still need to plug this one back in. Plug seems to be all the way on, just no satisfying click. We're on. Yeah, I mean, that's as far on as it goes. Then we're just gonna push the little lock. We're good to go. All right, and I guess the only thing to do is to do it, huh? Okay, let's see. That was easy. Okay, that was easy. All right, are we in? That was really easy. We might be in, guys. I'm assuming that these mounting bolts probably hold the fuel rail exactly where it needs to be. As far as, you know, how deep do you push this thing in? Well, you can only push it in so far before you have to allow the bolts to do their job. And here's the bolts. Just go ahead and get a couple started by hand. I've got the rail back in. I've tightened all 4 bolts down, just really snugged them up to where I thought, you know, that's enough to hold the rail. And the only thing left now is just to put everything back together, and that process will begin with this intake manifold. All right, so far this side of the engine is buttoned up, the alternator's back in, everything is screwed back in, all the brackets, plugs, everything like that. The only thing I really have to do now is reset the spark plugs, the ignition coils, put the air intake ductwork back together, and I think we can try firing this thing up. Now for this 4th plug, the one that I noticed the slight discoloring against all the rest, interestingly, when I was actually taking this out, I dropped it on the ground. I was able to catch it part of the way with my foot, but it dropped on the ground, and I don't want to put this back in the vehicle if I somehow cracked the porcelain or anything like that. So I bought a brand new replacement plug. I just don't want to risk putting that thing back in. Brand new one is going in place of the old one. I first drop these in by hand. Now this is definitely not easy, but I try to get it started on the threads by hand. Then I'll drop my socket in there and kind of go the rest of the way by hand until it's too tight to turn. Now because these are aluminum heads, you don't want to cross thread this. It will completely ruin the head. So you're in for a world of hurt if you cross thread these spark plugs. Also on this head, it tells you do not remove spark plugs when hot and torque to 13 foot-pounds. So that just goes to show you with these aluminum heads, you do not need a lot of torque and you don't want a lot of torque. The time has come. Everything is put back together. I forgot to put this plate over these wires right here. But other than that, we are ready to rock. Before I replace this plate, I just got to get this thing started because it's ready to start. The battery's connected. Everything is reconnected, I hope. I'm gonna give this thing a start so we can just give an initial overall impression. First impression on what it feels like to just sit here and idle. Now, granted, it hasn't been run in, I don't know, about a week. It's probably gonna stumble a little bit. We got no fuel in the fuel rail. I'm gonna try to prime it a few times before I start it. Keys in. Everything's priming. I'm gonna give it, I think I just heard the fuel pump turn off. We'll turn it off again, turn it back on, let that thing prime again. That sounded a little better. It sounded a lot more firm. I feel like I could hear the fuel and everything turned off probably once it reached pressure. Actually, now would be a good time to check for fuel leaks. Let me turn it off again. Prime it one more time. Yeah. Okay, so I feel like I can hear the pressure building and it shuts off once it reaches pressure, if that makes any sense. Okay, looking down here at this connector, feeling there is nothing leaking here. That is our connection that we undid. and there's no fuel leaking out of there. Let's go ahead and give this thing a start and see what happens. Ooh, something's not right. Okay, smoothed out. That could have been. I don't know, guys. Kind of let down a little bit because I can still feel a little bit of vibration. Definitely sounds different. I don't know, honey. I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Well, I just started it just now for the first time.
Okay.
And I was telling these guys, it's been off for a long time. Battery's been disconnected for a long time. There's been no fuel in any of the fuel lines and fuel rails.
Okay.
So I just started it up, and it started and it's running, which is great. It sounds good.
I was just gonna say, it sounds pretty good.
I can feel like still feels a little rough. Yeah. I do feel like it sounds different. Dare I say better. But I feel like it feels a little rough. But that might just be normal.
Well, it has been through a lot,
Yeah.
so let's just give it a second to
Yeah.
heal.
Yeah, I think I need to take it on a drive. Okay. I'm trying very hard to not have the placebo effect. I know that, you change something, you do something, and you want there to be a difference. I mean, it feels pretty similar to before. This engine just runs really good. I'm doing about 52 miles an hour right now. Very, very smooth, very quiet. I have changed the factory shocks out on this thing, which were Bilstein, to the Bilstein blue and yellow 4600s, which did a major upgrade to the suspension, the overall feel of everything, and the stability on the road. It just feels so much better. It's just downshifted. I'm going uphill. I'm now approaching 60 miles an hour. I'm at 400 RPM about. Engine feels perfectly smooth. All right, so I'm coming up to a stoplight now. Just got down that big old hill, and I mean, obviously the engine's completely up to operating temperature. See, right now doing about 5 miles an hour with the engine downshifting and everything. I can feel it being a little rough, but now it's not so rough. But then the AC compressor just kicked on and it roughened up a bit. Okay, so also, if I go ahead and put this thing into reverse, it's way smoother. Even that low end, kind of low pitched grumble that I hear goes away. I'm in reverse right now, and this feels like the way I think it should feel. Then I go back into drive, and yeah, we're back into that kind of low end kind of grumble that I hear, and just the overall rough feeling. I will say the engine might feel a little bit more peppy than usual. It might actually have a little more power. Maybe that injector was in the process of failing. I don't know. Maybe it was a bad injector anyway, and I just happened to find it through looking at the spark plug and looking at the top of the piston and all that. Okay, here we are from a stoplight. Yeah, I mean, it does have some get up and go. It's not a V8, but it's a decent sized inline 6-cylinder engine, and it feels good. It sounds good. All right, road test complete. Let's sum this up. Well, I do hope you enjoyed that attempt at problem solving with this 2005 GMC Envoy. Like I said, I've been dealing with this rough idle issue. I don't know if it's rough idle. I don't know if it's simply the motor mounts. Either way, the spark plug in that 4th cylinder definitely had something going on, and it had a lot more of that something going on the last time I looked at the spark plugs before I changed them. And so that led me to kind of investigate further and decide, you know what, I'm tearing into this thing. I'm gonna look at the injector because I've been suspecting injectors this whole time. And lo and behold, I found that injector that looked different than the rest. Was it working just fine? Probably not. It was probably acting up in some way. I don't think that was related to the problem I'm having because it still does the rough idle. But like I said, it seems maybe a little more peppy. Maybe it's placebo, really hard to tell. Bottom line is, it's still not fixed, but I did replace a potential failing or failed injector, and I'm happy about that. I am determined to fix this issue. I am absolutely determined to figure it out. I really hope I can. I do think my very next video on the Envoy is going to be the motor mounts. That's not an easy job. It's not. I've seen other videos. Oh my gosh, I have this pencil in my ear, I'm sorry. I've researched that a bit, and yeah, that's not an easy job, but nothing I can't handle, I don't think. So I have them, like I said, in my cart on Rock Auto, a few other things as well. I just need to finalize what I'm ordering. I'm gonna put that order in. We're gonna get those motor mounts here. GM, original equipment, and we are gonna swap those in here and see if that does anything. So if you're interested in watching the saga on the 2005 GMC Envoy with 77,000 original miles, hit that subscribe button. And also hit the bell while you're at it. That'll notify you the next time I upload a video. Also, don't forget to hit that thumbs up if you did enjoy this video. It really helps this video and the channel. I am Jimmy for One Road here on YouTube, and I will see you in the next one.